So if you spend any time online in those health and fitness circles, I bet you've seen Shilajit pop up everywhere. I mean, it's being hyped up as this amazing, all-natural way to jack up your testosterone. But what's the real story here? Is it legit? All right, let's get into it and find out. So let's start with what you've probably already seen online. The marketing for this stuff is, well, it's intense. They're making some really bold promises. Yeah, you see stuff exactly like this. Phrases like testosterone beast. I mean, they're promising it'll totally supercharge your strength, completely transform you. And honestly, this is the kind of aggressive advertising that gets everyone so curious, right? Which, brings us to the big question we're tackling today. Is this stuff a real science-backed game changer for your hormones? Or is it just some incredibly clever marketing? Let's try to separate fact from fiction. Okay, so before we jump into the studies and all that science, let's just quickly cover what even is this stuff. Shilajit is basically this really unique, sticky, tar-like gunk that oozes out of rocks in super high mountain ranges, like the Himalayas. People have been using it for centuries in traditional medicine, calling it a rejuvenator. And that whole origin story, it definitely adds to the mystery and the appeal. Now, the reason it's supposed to be so powerful comes down to what's inside it. It is just packed with compounds like fulvic acid and these things called dibenzo-alpha-pyrones, plus a bunch of different antioxidants. And this is the cocktail of ingredients that leads to all those claims about boosting your energy, your vitality, and of course, your testosterone. Okay, now for the part that really matters. Let's push all the marketing hype to the side for a minute. What does the actual science, the published clinical research, have to say about Shilajit and testosterone? Well, it's pretty interesting. It turns out that almost every single claim you see online about testosterone, it all comes back to one single clinical trial. Yep, this one study is basically the foundation for the entire argument. And here's the big number, the one that gets everyone's attention, a 20% increase. The study found that the guys who took Shilajit saw their total testosterone levels jump by about 20% compared to the guys who just got a placebo. And look, on the surface, that sounds really impressive. So let's break down the details of that study. You had about 90 healthy guys. They took 250 milligrams of purified Shilajit twice a day for 90 days straight. And what they found was pretty compelling. The Shilajit group saw a boost not just in their total T, but also their free testosterone. And that's the stuff that's more biologically active, the stuff your body can actually use. But, and trust me, this is a huge but, like with any single scientific study, that flashy headline number, it just doesn't tell the whole story. We really have to look at the context here. So here's the deal. Yes, we have one study that showed a promising result, but that same study has some major limitations that you absolutely have to know about before you jump to any conclusions. So let's get into why we need to be a little cautious here. First off, in science, one study is never enough. You need results to be replicated. And right now, this is pretty much all we've got. Second, the number of people in the study was, well, it was small. We're talking about 90 guys. Third, and this is a big one, these guys were already healthy. We have absolutely no idea if this would do anything for someone with actually low testosterone. Plus, what happens after 90 days? We don't know. There's no long-term data. And then there's the elephant in the room. The study was funded by a company that makes and sells Shilajit. That's a potential conflict of interest you just can't ignore. All right, so the direct evidence for testosterone is a bit shaky. So what about that other huge claim we always hear? That Shilajit is going to help you pack on muscle and just crush it in the gym. Well, the answer on this one is pretty straightforward. There's just no solid scientific proof that Shilajit directly causes any major muscle growth or big strength gains. Look, even if it gives you a tiny little hormonal bump, let's be real, no supplement on earth can replace the basics. The real gains, the real progress, that comes from your training, your sleep, your nutrition, and just being consistent over time, period. Okay, and this brings us to another really important point. If you're even thinking about trying this stuff, you have to understand that safety and quality are a huge deal, especially in the world of supplements. So the raw, unprocessed stuff, it can actually be contaminated with things you really don't want in your body. We're talking heavy metals, fungi, you name it. And because the supplement industry isn't super tightly regulated, the quality of what you're buying can be all over the map. So here's the key takeaway on safety. If you decide you still want to try it, you absolutely have to find a product that is purified and, this is crucial, has been tested by an independent third party to make sure it's safe. Okay, so we've looked at the crazy marketing claims, we've looked at the very limited science, and we've talked about the safety concerns. So where does that leave us? What's the real answer on Shilajit for testosterone? All right, here it is. Shilajit is definitely an interesting substance. It shows some potential based on one small study, but the science is just way too thin to call it a proven, reliable fix for boosting testosterone. It's not a silver bullet. It is absolutely not a guarantee. So if you're serious about supporting your hormonal health, you should focus on the things that we know for a fact do work. I'm talking about the things that have mountains of scientific evidence behind them. Things like maintaining a healthy weight, lifting heavy things, getting good sleep, managing your stress, and eating real food. These things have a way more powerful and reliable impact than any supplement ever will. The bottom line here is actually pretty simple. Don't let the slick marketing for some magic pill distract you from the stuff that actually moves the needle. The biggest, most reliable improvements you'll ever see in your health, in your hormones, they're always going to come from nailing the basics. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought, a question for you to chew on. When you think about your health, are you spending all your time and energy chasing that possible 1% hack? Or are you focused on building the solid 99% foundation that's actually going to get you where you want to go?